I'd like to call this meeting to order.
You grow up.
You can go.
Pledge of allegiance. Oh,
In the circus.
this meeting is being held in person and is being recorded.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah.
Hope everybody had a good summer.
She did.
Okay, ready to...
No, I was just
No,
going to say.
I know. It's not over
It's
yet.
edging that way, John, you know?
Yeah, when it's below 50 in the morning.
Yeah, oh, it was cold yesterday.
It was nice, it was beautiful.
Okay, so Finance Committee reorganization, that's the first thing we want to do?
Yeah,
Okay,
so, Mr. Chairman, our last meeting, we didn't have a quorum, we couldn't have done this, so today we have a quorum, and suggest that the board decide on reorganization.
Okay.
And here we are.
Okay, well, I'm willing to do it another year if you want. If somebody else wants to do it, that, I'm fine with that, too.
I nominate Bob Goffin to be chair.
That's what I was going to do. I second that.
Well, that was very quick. I like that, Jenny.
All right,
You know, get to the
so
point.
Janine made the motion.
Unanimous.
And I will second that.
it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Now, Vice,
Yeah, thanks,
Yes,
Bob.
thanks, Bob. for doing it
thank
again.
you, thank you.
We're
Okay, so
behind
Vice
you.
Chair, what's that?
We're behind you.
Okay. Vice Chair, somebody want to make a motion?
Neat.
Okay. So Brian made
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
a motion to nominate Janine as
Janine.
Vice Chair.
I second that.
Second by Bill. Okay, we ready to vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay.
Could I,
Thank you for your support.
Always.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to ask a question about the vice chair, because it's kind of been an informal practice ever since I've been on, that the vice chair does all the typing and all of that
Legwork.
stuff. And I would say that would probably make it so that some people on the committee don't want to do that job,
Probably.
correct?
Yeah.
So I wonder if at some point we want to talk about a different way of doing it, and I don't know what it would be, but I think that it's a lot, for
Yeah, it
that
is. For a
person.
volunteer,
Very much
I
so.
agree.
Yeah, it is.
I don't have a problem with it, Terry. I did
Yeah.
it before when somebody else was vice chair.
Yeah,
Can't remember
You
who
filled
was.
in for them, yeah.
Yeah.
Gloria, I think.
Yeah, maybe,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, whatever, it's not a problem.
Terry, you mean the, like, putting the warrant together, for town meeting?
Yeah, all the,
Oh, just sitting here every meeting and,
well, the,
No, I'm not taking notes. We have a wonderful person that takes all the notes.
yeah.
but you have to do all the,
But-
sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the replies on all the warrant items, and then all the letter and all that stuff, and it is,
I don't necessarily write the content, as you know.
no, I know, but
Depends on
still,
what it is.
it is, but it is.
very good at it.
Yeah, I mean, a certain amount of it is templates from previous years, but it's still a responsibility, so,
Are
okay.
you volunteering, Terry, that you want to start?
Yeah, at some point in the future, I would be willing, I've done it
That's fine. As I
before,
said, it's
so-
not a problem for
but
me.
I wonder if we need to bring somebody in, I guess, to do that part of it. I don't know if that's the case, but
I mean, what's her name?
I don't think she's available to come in.
Elizabeth, she's not available. She wouldn't
Well, we can ask when it comes to the point of us doing the warrant.
be, yeah.
If we need to bring someone else in, but I'm not
No,
sure.
I think she does a fabulous job with our minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does, she's, yeah,
Yeah, I agree.
Word for
Terrific
word.
job.
yeah,
Yeah, Whatever, it's not a problem for me.
okay. That said, if do you want to take something out of order? You want to take the minutes, get that done?
If you want, I mean, we can go down the list of we have a form, so.
Okay.
So the next thing on the agenda is this is definitely in draft form. This is only the index. It's the list of town meeting warrant articles. There's not many. You can look at them quickly. So the CPC, this is for the design of the proposed Northern Scenic Greenway. Go over an invitation for a meeting.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
We can go over that at the end. The Article number 2, now the titles may change, page numbers things may change, this is only the index. Article 2 is a stabilization fund. Each year we appropriate money to the stabilization fund. As you know, the stabilization fund now is at its plateau of the amount of money that needs to be in there per the budget and the revenues for the town. So we typically put in $1 million each year. I'm suggesting that we put less. I'll be talking with Chris to go over that amount that we think is appropriate. We don't have to put as much in the fund as we normally do.
Why was that? I forget.
Because we have met the threshold of
Oh,
the
for
revenues.
whatever we collected before.
Right, yeah, I believe it's
Oh, okay.
10% of the, and that's in the financial policies that
Yeah.
the board, both the Board of Selectmen and the
So you
Finance
don't,
Committee.
you don't know what that number is, but it'll be last time.
I
anyway.
believe it, right now, our stabilization account is somewhere around 12 million, so we're already at that threshold. So to keep on putting above and beyond what we really need, you know, as long as we keep and maintain what we should be putting in there. So the stabilization fund for collective bargaining and non-union agreements, you've seen these before. These are items that have been in there. These are for contracts that have settled and not settled. Same thing with Article 4. And then Article 5 is the CPC report for the FY25 capital plan. Tomorrow I'll be sending out the schedule. We had one meeting to talk about strategy and what we're going to be doing. We're going to be going from a 1 to 10 level criteria to a 4 level criteria. And we've sent that memo out to the departments at the beginning of this week. I will be scheduling meetings the first week of September into the second week of September with police, DPW, parks, to go over their requests. So I've already gotten some in from some departments. Personal bylaw amendment, salary adjustments and new positions, establishment of the the Dartmouth tree bylaw. The tree committee is pretty active. Charter amendment for the omnibus corrections. If you recall back at town meeting, there was a article in there to make spelling corrections and grammar. That's gone to the AG's office. It's come back to us for corrections. So we're looking to take care of that at town meeting. The DPW, this is the amendment. Maybe Chris wants to speak a little bit on that. Want to speak a little bit on that, Chris? Yeah. Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, just make sure you introduce yourself.
Works.
There's a microphone over here if you want. Carrie, okay, all right, go ahead.
Chris Vitale,
Yep.
co-interim town administrator.
Yep.
Good evening.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. And Article 8 is where we're at. Ar- Public Works, yes. So following the town meeting that we had in June, there was some additional discussion about having this up again for discussion this fall. The board still has to discuss whether or not they do want to move ahead, as they had previously discussed, and put this on the warrant, or if they want to wait following additional discussions with the DPW board. So we should have more information following Monday's meeting and whether or not this will be something they proceed with.
So this was taking away from the DPW board the right to set the salary for the director. That's what this was, right?
Yeah, so believe the proposed charter amendment would have had the DPW director report to the town administrator position to align with our other department heads. So I think that piece of it is still up for discussion.
Okay, go ahead, Terry.
So I followed up at our last meeting, somebody asked if there would be charter. And Heidi did send the chairperson, Heidi Brooks, sent out an email to all Charter Commission members that what will be on the warrant for the fall is the corrections from the Attorney General's office to the omnibus. That had to go to that office. They reviewed it and came back, so that there will be corrections. But that the DPW will be delayed because they are doing an efficiency study and it's not going to be finished, and they don't want to do anything until then. And there is no need for a charter amendment for electronic voting. Apparently, they've looked into that, and it doesn't need to be changed. It's just included under the voting process. So
What do you mean by that?
there's no need for charter change for electronic
So
voting.
will it be a warrant article?
No, it won't be it's just going to be a way that you can do voting. It's not required to be a change.
Oh,
It doesn't affect anybody's ability to vote. It's not
Yeah.
giving anything or taking anything away.
So is that going to be in a capital request for that?
The electronic voting?
Yeah.
No, it's not at that point. It was just a conversation to see if
Okay.
it needed to be in there.
Well, you have
in
to buy
order
the equipment, right?
Yeah, at some point in the future, if that's the
Okay,
case, it'll have to go through the same process as anything else that we have.
Okay.
And then zoning amendments?
Those are always a lot of fun.
Yeah, so,
Are you the planning director too, Chris?
so there were recent changes in state law, some of which affected zoning.
Okay.
So we have sent those changes off to town council, and depending on the substance of the changes by the state, it may require some changes to our bylaws, but we'll have more information.
Okay.
Based on how extensive that looks, it'll either be on for this fall, or it might be in the spring.
Okay.
But we have a placeholder in there for now.
And then the last one is a citizens petition for a health insurance study committee. This gentleman's approached me, he's a town meeting member, I'm not sure of his name at the moment, but this Medicare for All petition that's going on with the state. So we still have to do a little more research on this. He is asking to have this at town meeting, so I believe he's got enough signatures to maybe at least get town meeting to establish a committee to research, to explore it even more. So,
Can't the select board do that?
Yeah, so this is something that is typically committee charters are under the purview of the select board. You know, with citizens petitions, what we do is we do send those off to town council, and whether or not town meeting has standing to vote on certain actions.
Sure.
So when we get more information from them, you know, we'll come back.
Okay.
So I do have a question.
Go ahead, Bill.
All right, so he goes to town meeting and they say, great, we're gonna get on board with this. Who's gonna formulate the plan as far as how the study's gonna be created, who's gonna be involved, and so on and so forth?
So the citizens petition was pretty specific with regards to the composition of the committee, how they're proposing it, the timeline, and what elements they wanted included within the plan. You know, that's the ask. Now, in terms of the execution of it, we'd have to really work with town council to see if, A, the request is in order or is allowable through town meeting. You know, if it's not, just, you know, anytime a citizen wants to come in and have the select board look at it, that's also a request that can just be made anytime. But the citizens petition, we can't really go outside of that. You know, it has to appear in the warrant based on what they submitted to us, so.
and eventually there'll be a charge, obviously, for the committee, and then
Yeah,
the research will have to be done by members of the
I'm
committee.
just wondering about the logistics of it. How big is this committee gonna be? It's gonna be too large to be manageable, or what the fruition of it's gonna be and how it's gonna be done, so.
Yeah.
I'm just questioning its feasibility, really.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe the petition, it was for a panel of 7.
That's reasonable.
Three of which I believe were, it was supposed to include members who signed the petition. And there was a timeline associated with it in terms of the activities of this proposed committee and coming back to the town with a report, so
Good.
it still has to be fleshed out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm just seeing how they're gonna do it. I was in healthcare
Yeah.
as a, you know, information technology. I was just curious how they're gonna do all this
Yeah.
to coordinate with Medicare and, you know, the different programs that Medicare has and the, you know, insurance agencies that it goes through and so on and so forth is not easy by any standards.
Janine?
I'm just curious, I would think somebody is doing this now, because obviously it's a tremendous cost to the town, so who's doing this now?
So this proposal, this committee would be looking at, my understanding is it's a proposed legislation with the state. It's an article. It's not passed. My understanding is it continues to evolve in terms of the bill that's being kicked around at the state senate.
So their goal is to create a bill
So.
or support?
Support an existing bill that's up at the State House.
Okay.
So basically, study it, see if it's good. If it is good, the town should support it.
Couldn't they do that anyway without any involvement from town meeting?
That'd be correct, Jenny.
They could.
Yes, they
Just
could.
curious.
Yeah, I mean.
Yes, they
yeah.
could.
Yeah,
You're right.
absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Go ahead, John.
So Article 10 and 11, I foresee, and probably others, a lot of questions and discussion, potentially on those two articles, so I know they're still in the infancy stage, but it'd be great to get information sooner than later
Yeah,
when it's
the,
available.
On Article 11, the petition.
So we're not debating this at the
Yeah,
last
last
minute.
minute,
Yeah, the
yeah.
Article 11, the petitioner is asked to come in front of finance to
Okay.
discuss it, so.
And we do have the request in, so it has been submitted to the town clerk, so
So we can schedule him at any time to come in and
Okay.
speak to the committee and ask questions.
And the zoning article, the zoning amendments too, if we, that always generates a lot of discussion if we could
Yeah.
get that, once that's
Yeah, absolutely.
known.
But that zoning amendment is just compliance with the state. That's it, there's no other than that, okay. The personal bylaw amendment, usually that's in the spring, right? Is that a reason why it's in the fall?
Speak on it, it's two positions.
yeah, so typically in the spring, it has occurred in the fall before. We have a couple of different positions with town, or within the town that, one is a service, Sealers of Weights and Measures, which we have been outsourcing to a consultant. We're looking at restructuring that, bringing that back in to the town. As part of that, it's technically under our Schedule E employees. So we want to look at that position and make sure what we're compensating the consultant now is in line with what is on our Schedule E table. The second is we're having conversations, it's still early, but we have an emergency management director, required to have one by Mass General Law. It's previously been a stipend position, for a full-time job.
Yeah, it
It's
was
been
Joe Viera, right? It was-
Well,
yeah,
it
used to be
It used to be Joe.
Yeah,
Updown Tim Sheehan is our emergency management director. So it's now more or less a part-time employee. And ultimately, our goal is on our Schedule E table to have that position classified more clearly, as well as the employees over at the emergency management agency.
okay.
So that's more or less our goal there.
Okay.
So
Before we move on to the assignments, do you have that report that I did last time? Because a lot of people weren't here last time.
what was that? The,
The inflation and the revenue and, because I just wanted to review this because, we're talking about the town meeting, and one of the things I'm shooting for is to present some numbers to town meeting and at a very high level, and what I'm trying to establish is, do we have a revenue problem, or do we have a spending problem, or do we have both? And this was, for those who weren't here last time, let's go to the state money first. So these are actuals, and, all
What are we looking at here? What are the columns and stuff?
right, so these are actuals.
Actuals of what?
Chapter 70 money and Chapter 90 money.
All right.
And those are the years. And what I did was, I totaled them together, and I said, okay, year-over-year increase. So from 2020 to 2021, we had a 0.98% increase in state aid, and inflation was 4.7%. Okay, and I have a source for that number. 2022, state aid increased 0.89%, and we had an 8% increase in inflation. 2023, state aid was 2.52%, and inflation was 4.10. 2024, the state increase was 2.28. We increased, inflation was 3%, and we obviously don't have the number for 2025. The point I'm trying to make here is if you adjust state aid for inflation, if we, even if we got state aid at inflation, those are the numbers under that column. And then you see on the right-hand side, the loss due to inflation. In other words, our ability to pay is $432,000. 2023 is $834,000. So state aid, so this is a revenue issue. And what I'm trying to make the point is, you know, if state aid over 5 years, it was 1.85% increase. And our 4-year average for inflation was 4.95%. So there's a gap there. So that shows you that state aid, which is $11 million a year, which is about 10% of our budget, isn't keeping up with inflation. It's,
Bob, is there anything in the, I don't know if it's in the laws, or is there a promise from the state to keep up with inflation? How do they determine what they give the towns?
from what I understand, it's a very complicated formula.
You're talking about the public schools, right?
Well, Chapter 70 is public schools, and Chapter 90 is for roads, right?
Yeah, Chapter 70, I know you
Yeah,
couldn't
so,
probably.
so generally speaking, when the state puts together state aid for each community, whether that be Chapter 90, Chapter 70,
Yeah.
lottery aid, whatever, it's based on the community's socioeconomic data, the ability to pay certain bills. It's not, you know, and historically, the larger communities, obviously like the cities, are going to get more state aid. But there are smaller communities that get more state aid because it's just the way that, you know, their economics are. So there is a formula that they use. It's quite extensive. It takes a lot of information into account, but it's not just as easy as saying, you know, Dartmouth is going to be compared to another like-in-kind community because there's so many different factors involved.
Well, you know, there's a formula here, it ain't working for Dartmouth, you know, based on these numbers. If you can go to the next tab, DOR, you know, this is, again, the same number of years, and DOR income, from what I understand, is the total taxable income of all the people that report in the state of, in the town of Massachusetts. So in 2025, it's $1.6 billion. And what I'm trying to show there is that, you know, that state money comes from people paying their state taxes. It doesn't come from the town, right? It goes to, people pay their state taxes, and it goes to the state, and then the state decides to give us certain monies for certain things. So, you know, and again, this is right from the DOR website, and you can see, you know, the increase in income that the town residents are giving to the state. So the 5-year average income is going up 7.8%. That's 5.8 year. And the, and for whatever reason, 2025, there's a big pop there. I'm not sure what caused it, but, you know, the per capita income, 34,000 in 2020, 2021, 36, 37 in 2022, and all of a sudden, 2025. So I don't know if Tom Brady moved here or Robert Kraft or whatever, but, and then the right-hand side is EQV, which is the total value of all the property in the town. And we spoke about this last week. They only do it every 2 years, because, so in 2025, it was $6,798,000. Same thing for 2024. I thought it was a typo, but I went and checked the website double time, and then $6,198,000, and then in 2021, it's $5,885,000. So on the right-hand side, that gives you the EQV per capita, which is that number divided by the population. One thing I didn't understand, and it seems like the population didn't change from 2024 to 2023 exactly. It was 33,783. In 2024, it was 33,783. Again, I went back to the website, because I thought I put the same number down twice, you know? But the point that I'm trying to make is that the town people on their state taxes are paying into the state more and more money than we're getting. So this is just the beginning. What I'm trying to establish is, so to really make it simple, if we look at 5 years, there's state revenue, and then there's town-generated revenue, and the town-generated, so I want to look at that over the 5 years. And it's really two components, the town taxes, the real estate taxes, which is the majority, and then all the other ones, all the other fees that we charge.
Well, it's,
Excise tax.
Yeah, it's a few components. It's state aid, it's local receipts,
Yeah.
and new growth, and the tax levy.
Yeah.
So it's 4 components.
So I want to say, okay, so what was that for those 5 years? So so that's the revenue side. And then the next part of this is I want to see, I'm going to break it down in, make it simple, government spending and school spending for the last actuals. We spend so much time looking at budgets, but I'm looking at actual revenues for 5 years, where they're coming from, and actual spending for 5 years, to determine, again, my thing, and I'd like to get this to go out in our letter to the town meeting members, to show, what the issues are. And so I don't know what the issues are. So the question is, do we have a spending problem in town of Dartmouth, or do we have a revenue town, okay? And clearly, the state aid is a revenue problem. So that component is a revenue problem. I don't think you could argue that.
Yeah, we have that data. That's how I build the budget. So I have all that data and the projections out for the next 6 years. One could argue the fact that we have a spending issue, or we have an expense issue, or one could argue the fact that we don't have enough money. So I think that looking forward to town meeting in the spring, that it would probably be best, and I've heard this from a few town meeting members, to put some kind of presentation together in graphs that they've seen us use and they're used to, accustomed to seeing. They've seen us on DCTV talking about how state aid is flat, and it's been flat for the last 15 years to the town of Dartmouth. They see that, they look at other line items like health insurance, that's been escalating. So I think that when we do a presentation to town meeting, it has to be something that people are used to seeing, and pie graphs, and that will, I think that will hit home with trying to get the message
But I like to
across.
do this for the fall, because the problem with the spring is, it's budget, budget, budget. And this is a chance to say, okay, this is actuals. So I've got Jim, I talked to Jim, and he's gonna provide me with the actuals. And he said right now it's beginning of school, so he's gonna need a little bit of the town. And then I'll hit you up for the actuals, because I'm saying, okay, I want to be neutral on this. I just want to see, okay, these are the numbers for 5 years. And so if that's what's happened over 5 years, the next question is it going to continue into the future? And I hear about the formulas. There's formulas for the Chapter 70. Formulas are well and good, but it's not working for the town of Dartmouth.
And so,
Okay, go ahead, Jerry. Why don't you go first, Jerry?
no, I said, and so the formula is not working for the town of Dartmouth, so
What do you do?
So,
It's probably not working for a lot of towns,
well, I was just gonna
honestly.
say that.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But,
I think that's really indicative of what else, other towns are going through the same
Yeah.
thing.
I would say yes and no. I think that the cities, it's different. I think the towns are different than the cities because of the way they calculate certain things.
Well, again, it all depends on
Socioeconomic.
socioeconomics, the
Yeah.
ability for people to pay, so on and so forth. So, historically, the communities in Massachusetts, back in the day, they used to say, well, the cities that surround Boston get the most. Well, there was a push to then relook at Chapter 70 money, Chapter 90 monies back in the 1990s. That changed a little bit, it changed their formulas a little bit. But you can look at regional schools, for instance. That formula's been around since 1970, never been adjusted. So, I think it takes more than just, it takes legislation and many people listening to the same thing over and over again to make change. That's really what it comes down
I
to.
think I think you make good points in this information, and I think it is helpful for us as a finance committee to look at it. I'm not sure what the help to town meeting would be. I'm not sure, I think we need to know what we're trying to convey. If we're trying to get people to support legislation to change at some point, maybe that would be helpful. But the information that we send out in the letter that we send is really about the existing situation in the town of Dartmouth and kind of a lay of the land. This is where we are, this is, what's being requested, or this is what we need to think about in the future. That, to me, is helpful to town meeting, but I'm not sure if this particular information would be helpful to town meeting.
Well, the other thing I think it might show, well, it's just going to show that we have issues in relation to financing things that we want to finance, and the sources of revenue, traditionally the state aid or whatever, aren't going to help us. And if we want to go through with a lot of these projects, the only thing that's going to really help us is increasing the tax levy.
I think it could be incorporated into the
Well, I
other
think
stuff
that's
that
what
we
it's gonna
do, yeah,
show.
But, yeah.
But I want to let the numbers show rather than.
Are you trying to just?
Have an opinion.
Oh, okay, so, yeah, well, that makes sense. And you can say, well, okay, so it's not an opinion, it's the only way we're going to get out of this and finance these things is through increasing the tax levy.
Yeah, and I
So
somewhat
you think
agree
that
with
the letter
you.
that we send out is an opinion? Is that what you're thinking? That what we've sent to the town meeting before is
No.
opinion?
No. But, I mean, we do, we do vote on budgets and stuff like that. And I just think, there's budgets and there's always, pressure there.
Yeah.
This is the time to say, okay, it's a fall meeting, let's look at the actuals. So we're educating the town meeting members to say, because I don't like it when people say, well, the members, the people in the town have to decide what kind of town this is going to be. Well, the state has to decide what kind of town this, I guess, in this point in time. So I'm trying to, okay, we decide what kind of town it's going to be, but what's causing, the revenue? And when we come up with the revenue for local receipts, is maybe the local receipts are offsetting this, and we don't have a problem. So I'm not making a judgment until I see all the numbers.
I think if in fact you're going to do something for town meeting for the fall, we want to make this as clear as possible and not have it so that they're having to look at maybe spreadsheets and charts, maybe to mimic what we do in the spring, we talk about like the revenue. There potentially could be a revenue issue after we look at it. There could be issues with upcoming years, but I think maybe giving them maybe something like this would be a little bit too overwhelming for them.
Well, I'm not saying we're going to give them this.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying we're going to do it, but I think it's a good, I'm doing the number crunching, and I think it's just good for us to.
But, I mean, what you're going to get is
But they already know.
well, that's what I'm thinking. But, I mean, it would definitely say, here are the numbers that prove that the only way we're going to be able to finance these things that we supposedly need to do is through increases in the tax levy. We're not going to get any relief, because I think that local receipts is like $6 or $7 million a year all the time.
Local receipts,
And it's-
close to 11 million a year.
Yeah, okay, but we don't control that, really. I mean, it's just,
I mean,
it's a
we're
function
relying on motor
of,
vehicle
it's a function
excise
of
tax, we're
the
relying on
economy.
The local economy.
Yeah,
correct,
right. And then state aid is state aid. You're not going to get them
About
to
15.5 million.
change the formula, I don't think.
Yeah, so
So-
the only handcuffs the town have is the tax levy.
Tax levy. So if that's the point you're trying to get across, then that makes sense. I don't know how many people
Well,
understand that.
I think it'll help people make decision on an override.
That will help people figure it out? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think so.
How so?
If we come up, and I don't want to prejudge things, but
Right.
if we show, okay, our spending is this, and we come to a consideration that the spending is reasonable, that, and this revenue it's a decrease in revenue, and the local receipts in the town, things aren't keeping up, then we need an override. If we find spending is increasing at a rate of 11%, above, way above inflation, then we gotta figure out what's causing that. And in that case, if that's the case, then I might not be so favorable to an override, because it's a spending. Now, there might be a good reason for that spending issue, but I think we gotta flush it out.
Well, if I may.
Well, just let Janine.
Okay, Jim, go, sorry. Go ahead,
That's
Janine.
an awful lot to have in a nice, concise presentation by the middle of October, honestly. Because we're going to be the judge of if the town is spending the money wisely
Oh, no, we're gonna-
before October.
No.
I mean, that's
No,
a
no,
whole
no,
other
no,
level
no,
of.
No, we're gonna look at the spending for 5 years. We're not gonna, we're gonna say, this is the number. And if say it's 11%, well, that might be okay for you and not okay for you. It's all different. But if the number comes in with, we're spending 4.5% or 5%, you say, okay, that's pretty reasonable, so we don't have, we really don't have a spending problem. So I want to let the numbers tell us what the issue is.
I mean, right now, what all this tells me is that and we can't control the socioeconomic status of Dartmouth.
Yeah, that's right.
We can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
And it would take a lot, and that's being kind, to change that formula. So you have to be cautious, I think, on how you approach it and how that presentation is done.
Yeah, no, let's look at the numbers, and then we'll decide. We may decide not to put it out, but then we'll have, through the television, people who care will say, okay, I understand that. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I was just gonna say, you can't really tie inflation into what we're getting, because, for instance, year 2022, can you imagine if the state gave everybody 8%,
Yeah, no,
across
I
the
understand
board?
that, yeah.
So I wouldn't even attempt to draw that correlation between the increase the state gives us and inflation. Second thing, the biggest driver of any business or town or anything is labor. And when you have these unions negotiating what they are,
Yeah.
and I'm not saying they're not negotiating properly or in good faith, they are, their members need the money, but that's really the elephant in the room, that's what's driving everything, is labor. So until we come to an agreement or some type of way to settle these things, so we don't see these large increases in spending, but that's usually what's driving it. We see budgets every year presented to us, and the driver is labor.
Yeah, I would only suggest that, again, if in fact you're exploring it now, that a more robust presentation is done at the Springtown meeting. And that really is where we're talking about budgets, the future. And we can talk about like multiple years out and what the town sees. I mean, giving out the memo was good. A lot of people read it. But I think a presentation to town meeting is really appropriate.
Well, I'm doing the number crunching, so I'll present it to you, and you tell me what you think.
Do what he wants.
Tell me what you think.
That's true.
You tell me what you think,
Beautiful.
so. Okay.
All right, next one is the,
Okay, so next on the agenda, liaison assignments,
Okay.
liaison reports. I know Kerry's on here, but we started this last
Or
week.
liaison reports.
What was town fall meeting, that's why I talked about that. Yeah, we're doing that now.
No, that's this.
Oh, liaisons, okay.
Just saying,
Yeah, it's gonna take me a while to get back into this.
because it's been 2 weeks.
Anybody have any liaison reports, or?
no.
No, I haven't got anything. The meeting next Thursday is the DPW.
May I?
Go ahead.
So I had a meeting with the library trustees recently, and there was 2 things that came up that I want to mention. First of all, they have safety concerns at the library. Some people may be aware of some of the things that have been going on at Southworth. But that brought up the issue that maybe they need to change their staffing, meaning that people shouldn't be alone in the building. So it's just something that they may approach you about.
I believe, having a discussion with the IT director, Mike Colville, they are increasing the cameras down there. They have new cameras down in the library, so that might deter, make a difference, but
Right,
I'm
but
not
as
sure.
I said, they don't like
other
having
than
a
that.
person alone in the building.
Yeah, no, the other piece of it is, we've had active conversations with the director down there, and, we're hearing the comments from some of the staff. Obviously, we want to make sure everyone feels comfortable, safe, working, in any of our buildings in town hall. With that, we're looking at doing some different trainings, and figuring out what additional resources they may need. We want to see what we have in terms of staff, the particular instances and scenarios that they've been facing down there. So I think the trainings are a good first step in terms of hey, you're out on the floor, you're doing work, you're usually that first point of contact with anyone within the buildings. But if any type of situation escalates, having those processes in place so that it's not on necessarily the individual, they have a support system. So we're working on that with them, so.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
giving you an update on what the conversation was around.
Yeah.
The other thing that came up, and I did have a sort of a side conversation with Gary about this, but they, they generate revenue there, and part of it is passports, which was approximately $46,000, and that goes into the town's general fund, not to the library. And then they also do printing and faxes and whatever, and that's about $8,000 as well, and that goes into the general fund as well. So that's not a large sum of money by any means, but they would probably like to have it themselves. So there was a conversation of setting up a revolving fund, and that's the question that I had posed to Gary.
Yeah, and I had spoke to the library director when she first started, and there was, the trustees were concerned about the number of passports they do and everything else and the revenue they're generating. The only thing that I would caution, I mean, it could be done, is that there are other departments, for instance, like, I gave you the example of building, or like the town clerk's office, who generates revenue off licenses and so on, permits. We consider this all general fund money because it's part of general fund government. But it could be set up as a trust, as a revolving fund, where the money would go in, they would spend it, and it would just replenish itself.
Does
But
anybody
keep-
else have a revolving fund for a
The
department?
Parks and Rec has a revolving fund.
Okay, that's a
So,
revolving.
but keep in mind, it will be a decrease to revenues on the general fund side if we do that. Because those revenues will no longer go into the bucket of money for general fund. It will be now segregated.
Correct, but at this point, they seem to be talking about $50,000 to $60,000, I think.
I mean, that's something that
So
they
the
would have to be
process,
presented to
the
town meeting.
process for that is, it has to be a warrant article for town meeting to vote on?
Yes.
Yeah.
And does that have to be voted on every year in some manner?
The amounts have to be.
Yes.
the amounts have to be-
Yeah. Just like you do with,
Yep.
yeah, Parks and Rec.
Okay.
So it may be something that we explore. I know that the library director has contacted me a while ago
Well,
about it.
the other thing is the libraries have a state requirement for minimum spending, right,
Correct.
to be certified, so that's,
The MDOT budget.
Yeah. Okay,
okay.
thank you.
All right. So where we left off last time here was, there were a couple other, just the highlighted ones that we didn't really put in as far as liaisons. Carrie not being here, I don't know if she wanted to
No.
take any of these on, but.
Well, one thing I want to mention is that there were three people, two, Brian and Phil. It looks, checked the expiration dates of your term. On the website, it says this year, for you and for Brian.
Yeah.
So you know that if you want to continue on this illustrious committee, you want to send,
Well, the,
How come you just got appointed? How come
you have, okay,
yeah, the
okay.
website's wrong, that's all.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I haven't spoken to anybody. I'm supposed to speak to somebody?
Well, she reappoints you.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
good.
But you have to tell her that you're interested.
Automatic.
Matt, okay. Do I physically have to send something to her? I have to send something to her?
Well, I sent her an email. Yeah.
Yeah.
my term is coming
Oh,
up.
okay. I want to be reappointed.
Yeah. And she'll say, great. And
Okay.
So the
Is that
only
on the
one I-
website
The only one I had
someplace,
a
or
question
Jeff?
on was the schools. Are we still, it's gonna be Bob, Terry, and Bill? Is that gonna stay the same?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we can't have more,
Yeah, but then you'll start,
yeah, then you have quorum, you know, that's, the only other thing I was thinking is, maybe we don't have a liaison, and anybody who wants to go to the, school board meetings, budget meetings, just go. Because we're not part of the budget. In other words, when they have a budget meeting, the school has a budget meeting, it's their meeting, it's not our meeting, it's not a joint meeting, right?
Is it an issue to have a quorum of finance committee at that meeting, if 5 people go?
you'd have to be posted.
So that's the only issue. There would need to be, if you were planning to go, you'd need to let people know. I think one of the issues that came up at the last meeting is that with these 3 liaisons, in order to be effective, I think we want to think about who needs to be the liaison. I feel like I know about the school budget. I certainly would, still be involved if it would be helpful, but if you feel that you don't understand the school budget, or you have concerns about it, and you'd like to be liaison, I know that Carrie mentioned at one point, I'm sorry she's not here, but she said at one point that she did want to be the liaison. So when she said that, and I thought about the number of people, I said, well, I'll give up my liaison piece and let somebody else do it.
Unless you have a liaison and an alternate. You
Right,
could do that.
right.
Have an alternate where the person's not going. But I think, and this is only, being one of the biggest budgets, I think there should be somebody that's at least
Yeah, I think it
a
should be a
consistent.
constant.
A
It should be
consistent, right.
And I
an
think
assigned
the
person.
difference with the school committee, with the school department, is that they have a budget subcommittee meeting that's going to be meeting once a month. Other departments are not doing that. So the liaisons from the finance committee go to that meeting.
I guess. I don't know, I wasn't at this.
So I don't know, what do you think about that, you guys?
Is this,
Well, anybody can go to the meeting, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's,
but if
But we
you
wouldn't
go,
want to have half the finance committee
Yeah,
at
yeah.
one of
anybody
their
can go,
budget
but what I'm
meetings.
saying is if 5 of
Can't
us
be
show
deliberating,
up,
right.
it has to be posted. So, yeah, anybody can go, and, if you're going to go, you should probably let the liaisons know, because a decision would need to be made about making sure that it's chopped off at 4.
And does that account for the subcommittee too, the budget subcommittee?
well,
No.
that's what we're talking about.
Oh, you are talking about the budget
But,
subcommittee?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
The thing is, the 3 of us have certain expertise. And, it's always been, I think it's always worked this way. Worked this way when I started on the finance committee is, if somebody we never kicked anybody off any assignments. And if, somebody gave it up, then it would be opened up to anybody who wanted to do it. Like parks, I'd like to give up parks. If anybody wants to take it, they can take it. But, the school is such a big, it's a big thing.
Well, I think the only concern is about the budget committee, right? Because, I'm sorry, we can all watch the meetings
Yeah,
online,
Yeah,
but that's the only concern, is how many show up at the budget meeting?
yeah, I see,
Should be a constant,
I don't
whoever it is.
I don't know, see, we're not, in other words, we're not part of the meeting. That's why, no, because we have to ask permission to talk there.
Not the
no,
liaisons, not the liaisons, don't. They're part of
So-
the budget subcommittee.
So we are part of the, 'cause
Yeah, the
I-
liaisons are. Anybody else that, like,
Okay.
we've had people from the public show up at those meetings, and, they would have to ask permission to.
agenda.
Yeah.
Okay,
maybe, Bob, if we leave these 3 alone, maybe pencil in for Parks, maybe Kerry? And then,
well, I have to talk to her. I have to
yeah, I
talk
mean,
to her.
for now, just so we,
Yeah.
know,
Well, I'll stay on for
on
now,
on Parks.
yeah, until she, if she wants it, she can make that
We
change.
can go back and visit that Gary too when she's here for that.
Yeah,
matter.
right.
Yeah.
So the only one is the Ag Trust.
Uh-huh. Oh,
It's the only one that we don't have somebody.
And we're still down a member?
We're down one member,
We're
yes.
down, we're down,
Yeah.
down.
Do we know where that stands?
I put it out there to Melissa,
And Melissa, yeah, just
yeah,
trying to find somebody.
so I can follow up again with her.
So we can, we can leave it, we can leave the ag trust blank, on like this.
Yeah, the
And
Ag
then-
Trust is a voting member, I mean,
Yeah.
it's almost like if they have to have a vote, then let us know and we'll send somebody,
Yeah, that makes sense.
you know?
So we'll leave this like this.
They
and
don't
then
meet
maybe-
that often.
No.
And then maybe when we see Kerry, we'll ask her if she has an interest
Yeah,
in
okay, all right.
some of these, so. Okay, so we have two sets of minutes before you.
Okay, so,
July 11th and August 8th.
want to do August 8th first?
July 11th?
July, we'll do July
Yeah.
11th. Okay, so, everybody has the minutes. Somebody want to make a motion to approve the July 11th minutes of the
Motion to
finance?
approve as written.
Okay, so John,
I'll second
proposed, okay. Bill second.
I have a
I'm gonna-
correction or two.
Okay, all right, then that's
So
fine.
on page 2, in the first paragraph, 4 lines down, it says, "They will also have regularly scheduled budget meetings with," I believe that's the finance committee, because the "they" is the school committee. So the school committee will have regularly scheduled budget meetings with the finance committee, right? So that needs to be changed to finance committee. And then further down, where it talks about Mr. Carrero stating that a budget advisory committee would be useful, the way that this is written, it sounds like that would be a budget advisory committee for the school department, and it's not. So I think it could be fixed by adding in front of budget advisory committee town-wide. That could clarify that.
Okay,
And same thing at the last sentence, to start a town-wide budget subcommittee, because that is what Gary said, but it was out of context, kind of.
so at the bottom line, town.
Yeah, the last sentence in the
Yeah.
same paragraph would put
Town-wide.
town-wide in front of budget advisory committee.
Okay. All right, so, based on those changes, will Elizabeth make those changes? Can you have Elizabeth make those, well, she listens to this anyways, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You'd have to make a motion to,
To amend,
Okay, all right, so,
motion to amend?
okay, so, motion made by Bill to amend the changes as stated by Terry, the 3 changes, finance rather than school committee on line 4, and on line 8, town-wide budget advisory committee rather than just budget advisory committee, and then on the last line of the paragraph, town-wide budget advisory committee.
Mr. Chair, just a technicality.
Yep.
The motion to amend
Yep.
has to come from the person who made the original motion.
Okay.
Right.
So if I disagreed with you, I could either
Mm-hmm.
withdraw my motion or not vote to amend and force.
Okay, yeah.
Force a vote. It's just, I'm just raising the issue, so the minutes reflect it correctly, that I don't
Okay.
have a problem with amendment, but all amendments, if a motion's on the floor,
Mm-hmm.
any amendments have to come from.
Would have to come from
the person
Terry.
Who made the
Okay.
motion.
Okay, all right, so,
All right.
all right, so
That's
you,
fine.
it'd have to come from Terry.
That's fine.
I think, I don't know, if I made the motion, I can't remember who seconded it, so those two individuals
yeah, no,
have to approve it.
all right, so Bill originally made it, made the motion.
He made the motion to amend,
Yeah,
and it should have come from me and Terry to amend,
All right, so I can withdraw my
Okay.
position, okay?
just for future.
okay,
All right, I
I'll
can
make a
withdraw.
motion to amend.
okay.
I'm fine with that.
Those changes I already said. And so you want to second it?
Second.
Okay, so second by John. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm gonna
One abstain.
abstain.
One abstain.
I'm gonna, okay, Phil abstained, I abstained. Ryan, did you abstain?
No.
Okay. So Phil and I abstained, everybody else voted yes. Okay. Okay, so the Finance Committee meeting minutes from August 8th.
Make a motion to approve?
Okay, so Terry made a motion to approve, Phil seconded. There were only 4 members here, so,
I'm gonna have to abstain.
so Bill's going to abstain,
I abstain, Brian.
I abstains, John abstains. So that leaves the 4 of us. So, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay, approved, okay.
Oh. You understand what I'm going to ask? How can we do that if we're not a quorum?
Well, I think we have
Oh,
members
because
who
the
are here
members
who
were there,
abstain,
okay,
yeah.
just curious.
Yeah.
All right, yeah,
That's
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah. Yeah, because they're abstaining, so that's, yeah.
Yep, understood, it just so wasn't a
Question.
The
quorum per
minutes
se.
of, you know, was the minutes. It was like-
So, one of the last things, Mr. Chairman, is an invitation from the CPC committee to, on the September 10th at 6:30. We're thinking right now it's going to be here in room 315. You see that, you see the memo there in front of you,
Yeah.
I put in your packet. And if, I will, this is to discuss the Northern Scenic Greenway, multi-use path. I will post this as a meeting just in case there's a quorum, we don't have any issues. Multiple members want to show up.
Okay,
Just a note on the liaison, I'm on that committee, I will be away for that meeting,
okay.
so.
Let's, can we talk about it for a second? I mean, it's $25,000, right, for the survey. And I remember, I think John had said last year, usually that represents 10%, usually.
Construction costs?
Yeah. So is that what we're talking about here, or?
Want to speak on that, Chris? Do we have any?
Yeah, no, so, this is very preliminary work. The project itself, it would be multi-million-dollar if it did in fact go to construction. I don't have the full scope of work in front of me, but this is just very, very preliminary design
Okay,
work
okay.
and field inspections.
They got a
They're-
grant for
that they're requesting.
175. I think they got a grant for 175 and 25 is some kind of match.
Well, I guess my question is, how many members want to attend?
Well, I will post it just so that,
All right,
even
okay.
if only one
Okay,
member
yeah,
attends,
vote,
it's still,
and then there's
there's no harm in
Yeah,
posting it.
yeah.
So this is
We should
something-
have at least one if you can't be there,
No
right?
issues.
We should have somebody who says they, they will go.
Yeah,
And this is, Buddy started doing it just as a courtesy to,
okay,
he does it to the select.
You're going to attend, Phil? Phil's going to attend.
okay,
Okay, good.
all right. All right, but post it in that way.
Yeah. Okay, so looking ahead, a couple more weeks, I would suggest that we skip the 29th, the next Thursday,
Okay.
and we schedule the 5th. As I mentioned, we'll stop meeting with CIPC to get that information from the departments. And the select board is looking at the draft warrant on the 9th, the 9th. So maybe we'll have a draft warrant in hand, maybe for the 5th that we can review, and look at some of the articles. We'll have the dollar amounts for the stabilization, but we're trying to get this as complete as possible before we have another meeting, so.
All right, so so the
The
5th,
5th at 5.
And the 829 is canceled.
Yeah, I would suggest that.
okay,
Bob, I'm
And
away the first 2
the
weeks.
fall
of
town meeting is October
okay,
15th.
all right.
That's it, you're fired.
Already?
Can't, we're already down one.
And I would suggest we keep the meetings until
Yeah. after
every
that,
Thursday
yeah,
at 5 until we
Yeah.
reach,
Okay.
we vote on the warrant.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All right, somebody want to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Ryan makes a motion to adjourn. Who wants a second?
Second.
All right, I'm getting worried there.
Everyone wants to
Bill,
stay.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Must be bad at home.
Any opposed, say no. Okay, unanimous. Okay, thank you.